to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two cousins who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Monica.
And that reflection in the window was my brother.
Yeah, that's all
who's wearing a bright-ass yellow shirt, so he showed up really well in the reflection. He is doing some last-minute getting his life together because we leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
To move him to Florida.
It's gonna be really weird, like, when I come over and he's not here, and I can only imagine how weird it's gonna be for you because your two best friends are not living here.
Yeah, so I live at my parents' house because, you know, I moved back from Thailand with money that I made in Thailand, which means I didn't really have money to buy an apartment. Also, my parents let me live here for free, so...
Yep.
So I live at my parents' house, but also so do my brother and his girlfriend. They're moving to Florida. So I'll be alone. And here's the thing. So I have, like, 6 best friends, right? Yeah, how many people? Yeah, 6 or 7 best friends, right? So Renee's moving to Florida. Jillian already doesn't live here. Mm-hmm. Montana already lives in Florida. Courtney lives in New York City. Brittany is going to South Africa. And so Amanda lives here, but she has 2 kids and works full time, so our schedules to see each other don't really work out very well. Mm-hmm. And Christelle's still in Thailand. So literally, you're it. Get ready for me to be hella annoying because I have 0 friends left.
Yeah, and that's fine because I have, like, 3 friends and I do nothing. So, I mean, like, I'm not going to complain.
Literally, all of my friends don't live here. My last friends are leaving, except you.
Yeah, for now.
I mean, I guess. Brittany and I were talking about it because I got lunch with Brittany this week. And we were talking about how the fuck do you make friends as adults? Like, we came home, all of our friends are still in Thailand. What do we do?
Yeah, that's what I was, because, like, obviously, like, you have, in school, you have an environment where you can make friends, unless you're in, like, in a group environment type of job that you know, like, you're gonna stay at, can you really make friends?
Right, so, like, in high school and college, you kind of, like, are forced to have friends.
Yeah.
And then, like, our job in Thailand, we talk all the time about how it wasn't really a job. Mm-hmm. It was... Because, like, just the way, moving to a different country, living in a place where you don't speak the language, the only people you see are your friends from work, and also just the environment of the work, like, place and the age of the people who work there, it really was just more college, basically. Yeah. So, like, this is, I mean, and granted, I've had times where I wasn't in college, but, like, for Brittany, she went right from school to Thailand.
Yeah.
So she's never, like, not been in school.
Yeah.
She's like, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. She's like, I have 2 friends. Well, here. Yeah. She has other friends, but not in our area.
Yeah. And that's a really rough thing. That's why, like, because after high school...
That's the best and worst thing about traveling as much as I have is that I once went through my Facebook and counted how many different countries I have friends in on Facebook, and I got to, I think, 100 or 110. Jeez. So of the 197 countries in the world, I have friends in over 100. Mm-hmm. But in my city, I have 2 friends. Like,
it's hard, and then trying to have, and it sucks because, like, you form those close bonds with those people, and they don't. It's not like you can call them up and say, hey, like, let's go to the mall, or, like, let's go shopping, or go out and get tea, or whatever it is. It's like, I'll see you in 8 years. Love and miss you. Like,
yeah, like, the number of texts that I send that just say I miss you is, like, all of them. Because, but I don't. Yeah. Also, sometimes I have friends who decide that they're going to fall off the face of the planet for months at a time, particularly one person who has a history of just disappearing. Mm-hmm. And I was finally starting to be like, well, I guess I'm never going to talk to him again. This motherfucker texted me last night and was like, I'm so sorry I've been gone.
Too late. I already met who?
I have met no one.
You haven't met anyone. That's when you, like, be, like, one of those really, like, crazy people, and, like, you put, like, a mannequin head in your bed and you post on your Saturday story. I have never done that, but I have seen a TikTok of this girl doing it.
No.
It was very weird.
Yeah. There's this guy, I met him in China 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago to the week almost. Oh, okay.
That's why.
It's okay. I already told them that you're packing and everything.
No, I know. It's just that's the long cord, and I'm just gonna buy one that has more slots because I got too much crap.
Yeah, no, but I'll keep it out here because I already have a long one in my bedroom.
I wasn't sure if you ended up getting one.
I did. Talking about extension cords, very exciting. No, I met this guy in China 2 years ago. We are friends, just friends, kind of. There's always been chemistry, but he lived in China and I lived in Thailand, and then he moved back to America and I still lived in Thailand, and now we both live in America, but I live on the East Coast and he lives on the West Coast, and like it's never gonna work.
Yeah.
But he likes to do this thing where like as soon as I'm like fully accepting that he's not in my life, he reappears from the dead, and it's not like he's fuckboying me. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't like just not talk to me. He ghosts his
Everyone.
entire social media presence, everything. He like handles mental like stress by shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's not like he's fucking with me, and like also we're just friends, so there's nothing to be fucking with.
Yeah.
But it's like
Damn, I was just like, okay, why are you here? And it's not like a why are you here in a bad way, because like he's a good person.
Yeah.
It's like a
it's just like, can we not have my emotions on a fucking yo-yo all the time?
Well, for me, as you guys saw in last week's episode, I was in Florida. But before, after that video came, after we recorded that video, I ended up going down to Universal. It was my first time at Universal.
It was your first time ever?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have made fun of you as much.
Yeah, it was my very first time at Universal. It was a lot of fun, a little stressful, very hot. Of
Welcome
course,
to July in
Florida, and I knew it was gonna
And
be
here's
hot.
the thing, most of the time when you've gone to Florida, it's been to visit family, and so you've been on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando is a swamp.
It really is. It
Why do you?
really
When
is.
I worked in Orlando in July, I got heat stroke twice.
Yeah. Like it was so much fun though. Like it was me, my boyfriend, my brother, my cousin, and my nephew. We all went. It was so much fun.
Cousin, I forgot.
Yeah, Bash went with us, and Cody is in love with Harry Potter. I'm not obsessed, but I don't hate it. I'm like, okay, Harry Potter, that's cool. So of course we did the Harry Potter world, and we went to Ollivander's Wands, and
Did you get a character wand or did you get your own wand?
we got our own wand.
Okay.
Cody got picked for the demonstration.
Stop! How cute.
I literally saw him get pulled up, and he got all excited, and I recorded it. I felt like such a proud mom. And so it's like I was recording him, and he was going through the whole thing. They were making him say all these spells, and all the wands weren't working, and then the light shined down when he picked up the right wand, so it was like the whole movie thing. After he got that, we stepped out into the rest of the room where you can like talk to the workers there, and they'll talk to you about your personality, and then they'll pick a wand for you. And so mine was an ash wand, his is a birch, but he knew what core he had. He had the heartstring core. I don't know what core mine was, because she was like, there's people that walk around in like black outfits that can possibly tell you your core. I didn't see anyone, so I was like, damn.
I would have just told them what my Pottermore wand is and be like, I want exactly this.
Mine's a phoenix tail core. And so I was like, I'm just going to pretend that it's a phoenix tail core. And before we went, I retook my Pottermore quiz. First time I took it as a Gryffindor, I'm like, that's incorrect. No, I've been a Hufflepuff for 6 years. This is not happening right before I'm going into Harry Potter. So I retook it again. It came out Hufflepuff. And DJ's girlfriend, my brother's girlfriend, was very excited about it because she is also a Gryffindor and couldn't get over the fact that I was a Hufflepuff. And I was like, no, I'm a Hufflepuff. That's just what I am. So she got very excited that I came up Gryffindor the first time. But then I took it again. I got Hufflepuff. Then I was
just checking. My brother and I have the same wand and the same house. We have different Patronuses, but I have a picture of his saved on my phone, and that's the only reason I remember. Because my wand is a hawthorn wand, 11 inches with a unicorn hair. So is his. We're both Slytherins, but this is the best part. His Patronus is a hippogriff. How the fuck? His Patronus is a hippogriff, because my brother is the coolest person on the entire planet.
That is really cool.
Mine is a fucking squirrel. Which, if anybody knows me, knows that is literally the only animal on the face of the planet that I am afraid of.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's really funny because I was just gonna tell you, when Ebony saw me take my Pottermore quiz and I got Hufflepuff, I was like, well, let me tell you let's do my Patronus, and then I'm like, my Patronus will really show through. I got a fucking beagle. And like, there's nothing more Hufflepuff about that than me getting a beagle.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And so I was like, she's like, yeah, there's no way you're not a Hufflepuff. I was like, exactly.
No.
And, but that was really fun, and we got to ride the Hogwarts Express. That was cool as shit. It felt like, I was like geeking out, and like, 'cause I have seen all the movies. But it was such a different experience being like in it. It was like you went through all these experiences that the characters do in the movies, and I was just like, well, not everyone, but it was still just awesome. And like the Dementors came on the Hogwarts Express, and then Ron, Harry, and Hermione are like fighting them up. Oh my god, it was just the coolest shit. I loved it. I would go back to do it again.
Honestly, I just want to go back to Universal for the new Jurassic Park roller coaster. That's all I care about.
I'm so mad that we didn't get to see it because, FYI, I was not feeling good halfway through the day, and we had a dip earlier.
It was 150 degrees.
Yeah, it was so hot. It was like an oven, and then I also had personal health issues going on, and I was just like, yep, no, I literally felt like I couldn't walk to the car.
I have to figure out if I'm doing anything when I go to Orlando. So I'm going to Orlando next week.
But if you go to Orlando and you do go to Disney, and for some reason you end up in Harry Potter, could I just have a baby Yoda?
Well, you said Harry Potter.
I didn't mean Star Wars.
Okay.
I just want a small thing from Star Wars because I missed that I wasn't there.
Yeah. What?
Is your...
No.
Yeah, because you just texted me. Are you listening to All Eyes on Me by Bob Burnham?
I wasn't planning on coming down. That's why I texted you.
Yeah.
But then I decided I want this box up there.
Yeah. Also.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I can't hear it, George. I can only hear it. Even yesterday, I could only hear it when I go to the stairs.
Yeah, I just can hear it still, but my door's open. I'm gonna close my door.
Don't close your door. You're gonna die of heat stroke. Okay. Okay.
Not trying to interrupt the podcast.
No, you're okay, sweetie.
You're fine.
We're having a little bit of interruption today because, like I said, my brother's moving tomorrow, and
So it's just you get a special guest, George, panic packing.
yes, we love a good panic pack.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is what I'll be doing tomorrow because
Yeah, you have
I
one
have-
day to pack up.
I have
for,
done
like, a week and a
absolutely
half.
nothing yet, but that's because we haven't had time to do the laundromat until tonight, which means that I don't start packing at all until tomorrow. And I leave tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh,
Tomorrow,
Jesus.
I don't know what time I'm leaving tomorrow.
Oh my God. So
Yeah,
you're gonna
that's
just be
the
like,
thing
all
is-
night as soon as you go over laundromat. Okay, this is going. This is going. This is
I
going.
mean, granted, so luckily I am packing for 14 days where I will have access to a washer and dryer for at least 8 of those 14 days.
Yeah.
Whereas they're packing to live.
Yeah, that's a whole other. That's the one thing that I'm anxious for when I decide to move is how the hell, like, I can barely pack a suitcase to go away. How the hell am I gonna pack up my life and just be like, bye? And I don't know how you did it.
I asked Jillian because I don't remember anything about that night.
Because I am like, I know I'll be panicking. I'll probably have 7,000 anxiety attacks and just be like,
I mean, like,
Right.
things that I need to do. I need to go to the store and buy more of my sleep gummies because I realize I only have one more night of vitamins. Like, things like that are like, oh, I'm leaving. I should buy my medicine. I should make sure I have enough medicine for the whole time I'm gone. Like, I need to run to Target. Like, those are the kinds of things that I'm doing. Like, the actual packing is not difficult because I'm like, I like this shirt. I don't like this shirt. Like,
yeah.
And also, like, I don't really have that much clothes.
Yeah, like, and that's kind of how it was for me. I was just like, what have I worn in the past month? That's what I'm bringing.
Right.
Because I'm like, I'm not going to want to wear anything I haven't. Like, I brought dresses down. I didn't wear a single one. Well, because I thought we were going to be doing more. There were other people that were supposed to be going with us that ended up not going.
Yeah.
And there were other plans that were going to be made, and those plans did not happen. So I was like, I'll just bring a dress in. Yeah. I was going to...
I just realized that I need a nice outfit.
Yeah. You're gonna...
Anyway, because this episode will publish before that, so we're not going to talk about that yet.
Yeah.
Just in case. She doesn't listen to this
No,
podcast.
she does not. But yeah, so like it's been an exciting week. Mary Kate definitely has a lot going on
Oh my god, so
till like the second week of August.
I literally texted Monica the other day, like, just like, I don't text separate texts. Like, I'm a very much like, I will type a whole paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
This week, I have sent Monica about 400 texts because I literally was like, okay, so this is what I'm doing this day, and 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 then I'm gone, and then when I come back, I have to do this, and this, and this, and, like, I don't know when I'm gonna sleep till 2022 at this point.
Yeah, and that I was just like, I feel so bad, but
Just kidding. I'm gonna sleep really well on the morning, because I don't sleep at night, on the morning of August 6th.
That's when you're done with everything.
That's when I will sleep.
I'm happy for you.
But probably it won't be well.
Yeah, it'll probably just be like a toss and turning type of sleep. But there is some interesting news. Guess who probably is going to be working at the end of the month?
Oh, you got a job.
I messaged my hairstylist, and she's hooking me up with Lauren. I have to fill out a resume, and I'm officially applying for that. And if I don't get it, when I went into Alta, they literally were like, "Do you want to work here? We can offer you a job." And I was just like, let me think. I'm like, I'm not gonna be. This happened like right before I left for Florida. I said I'm not gonna be home for a week, so let me think about it.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Like we need staff.
I mean,
and
that's
like,
the thing.
You know what you're doing, and I was like,
well, and that's the thing. Like, honestly, getting a job right now is so easy because everywhere is desperate.
And
unless you're looking for very specific things. Like for me, I have a teaching degree with a certification in high school English. Right now, that is one of the least hireable fields because English teachers. PSA to anyone in school going to be a teacher. If you are super passionate about English literature and that's what you want to talk about, fine. If you just want to be a teacher and you're trying to figure out what is an easy way to be a good influence on kids, do not become an English teacher. Math is always needed. Science, special ed, TESOL, like teaching English to speakers of other languages. Those are super, super desired fields. English and history, most people who want to be teachers and don't really have a passion about a specific subject do those because it's the easiest, and that's why we can't get jobs.
Yeah.
I didn't do it because I just wanted to be a teacher. I did it because I really like only care about books.
Yeah.
But it's also screwing me right now because if I had gone for special education or teachers teaching English to speakers of other languages, which I did consider, I would have a job right now.
Yeah.
And because I didn't, I don't.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to work at like a restaurant or a store and you just need an extra paycheck, like income, you just are sick of being alone in your house.
Yeah.
Please. And this is not just because like obviously most of the people who listen to this show probably already have jobs.
Yeah.
Because of just the people that I know that listen to it. Mm-hmm. But if you are listening to this and you don't have a job right now, I get that unemployment is cushy right now. I get it. But the number of businesses that are failing, and not like Amazon and Walmart are not failing.
Yeah.
But like local restaurants, local stores, like everyone I know who owns a business is struggling because nobody will take a job. And if you want to just get out of your house and do something, even if it's part-time, please do it because people are desperate.
Yeah. And like, because that was one of the things where when it came down for me to look for a new job, because I have been on unemployment this past year and I don't like it, but
I haven't because I'm not eligible because I didn't live in America.
Yeah, that's rough. But
it's okay because I have a job.
Yeah. It was just, when I was on unemployment, I was like, I was keeping my normal paycheck, what was my actual paycheck for my spending, and anything extra, like the COVID pay, went right into my savings.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know I'll need this one day. I'm going back to school. I could pay for a big hunk of my schooling out of this.
Yeah, and I get it. Like I'm saying, I'm not saying, like, I fully get why it is difficult to walk away from the unemployment payment. That is not a judgment call on the people receiving the money. I have lots of feelings about the people giving the money.
Yeah.
And the way that the money is being given and who's getting it and why.
Yeah.
But obviously, to the people who are at home who could use that extra $300 a week, like, I don't blame you. If I could get an extra $300 a week, I would too. Believe me, we all need the money. And especially with people losing jobs because of COVID and people who have families and things like that. And if you had anybody you know get sick and you have medical bills, like, believe me, I am not unaware of the desperateness of a lot of people's situations.
Yeah.
I just also know a lot of business owners who are just as desperate, but because of the anti-corporate America, like, mindset, people aren't thinking about the fact that these business owners, like, okay, like, for example, I used to work at a Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen Corporation, fine. The man who owns the store that I worked at, he's a grandpa and a dude who lives in my city, and, like, he's owned this. It's a family restaurant. Like, yes, sorry, he pays fees to be part of a corporation, but he is not Warren Buffett. He is not Dairy Queen. He's just a guy with 5 kids and 14 grandkids who's trying to make something of his life.
Yeah.
And he's struggling to get people to stay.
Yeah. And that is a hard thing, and, like, that's why I am very excited to get back to work. It's nice because I've had no schedule for almost a year and a half now. A year and a half. I haven't had a schedule. I haven't had a...
And honestly, I will tell you, as nice as it might be to not have a job,
having that schedule.
That schedule, especially if you have, like, any kind of, like, mental health things with, like, anxiety, just, like, the lack of routine is fucking me up.
Yeah, and that's where I got to that point a while ago, and it's just like I've been riding out the wave, but the thing is, I'm looking now because when September hits, unemployment stops in New York State. Everyone's gonna be looking for a job. Right. I want to make sure I have.
That's the other thing. If you're in New York, get a job now, because in a month and a half, when that $300 extra stops and companies stop paying $16, $17 an hour to start because more people are hiring and it's not as desperate, you're gonna wish you had gotten a job in July. And like, that's not to say, like, but, like, if we're gaming the system, game it correctly.
Yeah. Like, do what you gotta do.
Like, lose that extra $300 for 4 weeks to have a higher paying job than you would if you kept the extra $300. Like,
and I don't know if every place is doing that incentive of doing that raise.
Well, no, and I mean, obviously, right now, minimum wage for fast food restaurants in New York State is $15 an hour. So, like, if you're working at a restaurant, it's already going to be 15. But, like, I know my old boss is paying 16 to start, and that's with no qualifications or nothing. When I worked there, granted, I started there 7 years ago.
Yeah, but then you left.
I left 3.5. Yeah. But when I started there 7.5 years ago, I was making $9.75.
Yeah. And
now they're hiring $16 an hour. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, 7 years is a long time. Yeah. But, like...
Yeah. And it's just gotten to the point where it's like... I do miss working, and if I decided to not go back into a restaurant,
which is fine, because it's not for people. It's not for all people.
And it's not, I didn't have an issue with customers, or sometimes I wanted to deck a customer in the face, but you get that with any job that you're going to get if you're working in customer service, but mine have just been behind the scenes experiences in restaurants, and I've heard so many horror stories besides my own.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I needed a minimum wage job right now and I wasn't going into education, I would never go into retail.
Yeah.
Because I've never worked retail. I have only ever worked tourism and food. I have applied for jobs in retail, but I have no retail experience. And honestly, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I loved my job most days when I was working at Dairy Queen, because I was a cake decorator. So when I was there in the mornings and I was just making and decorating cakes, I loved it. Afternoon shifts, when I had to talk to people, didn't really always like it. But it's also part of it was, like, I didn't always like the people I worked with because some of them were really stupid.
Yeah.
And I didn't always, and my boss and I had not the one I've been talking about, his son. He and I have a very love-hate relationship. So there were days where I was ready to deck him in the face and quit on the spot. But, like, to be honest, I've already considered going back there if I can get a job doing just cakes and nothing else.
Yeah.
But it's, like, but that was a good environment for me. I was like, I would come in the morning, I would have a task list of all the things that I needed to make, all the cake orders that I needed to do, everything, like a list of these are all the things I have to do. And for me and the way that I work, that was great. I would come in, I would get my list, I would check off all the things that I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah. And, like, I had, now that I'm, like, looking back into it, I really wanted to stick in a field that was going towards what I'm doing.
Right.
And at Ulta, like, I know makeup, I know brands, I know what works, what doesn't work for what skin types, and that I can help people understand the makeup a little bit more. I've been doing it for like 7 freaking years now. It's like I have some form of an idea.
Yeah.
But I also understand that, like, it's hard to get into that, and, like, more so working at the salon, because there are so many, like, tedious little things that I can only do there. Like, I can literally only answer the phone and sweep hair. I can't wash hair. I can't do anything else. I just have to stand there because I don't have my credentials yet.
Right.
And so I can't put my hand... I can't legally touch another person in the state of New York in a salon unless I have my license. Legally, you shouldn't be touching anyone ever unconsensually. But
I mean, if you were shampooing someone's hair, it would not be non-consensual.
Yeah.
But no, so like there's pros and cons to both. But.
And at least if I start this now, by the time I'm in school, I can kind of already... if I just started both at the same time, I know I would cry. So at least I can do something, and then when I get into
get your
school,
stamina of being a person back up.
Yeah. But me and Mary Kate have things to do.
We have things to do today. Also, just so you know, because this whole I'm leaving tomorrow thing, it is Wednesday. We usually record on Saturday, so
it's Wednesday, my dudes.
So I'm a little out of it. Like last week we also recorded on Wednesday because Monica was in Florida, and then I edited the podcast on Wednesday, and then on Saturday I was like, oh shit, I edited it, but I still have to put it on the internet. Yeah. So I apologize if we're off this week or next week. Or, just in general.
August 6th, we'll be back to it.
Yeah, August 6th, we will have our shit together. We also got a fancy new camera and some new editing equipment and everything because my dad loves me. Mm-hmm. Well, no, my dad is going to use it for himself, too. Let's be honest, it's not just for me. But we got some fancy new equipment and stuff that we will be moving up to with, like, better microphones, better cameras, all that fun stuff. But, again, this week is crazy and not the time to try new equipment.
Yeah, experimenting week probably won't happen till Mary Kate's home. We can have a day where we can actually understand the equipment and mess around where neither one of us is rushed.
So August 6th. See you then.
See you then.
Before we start the episode, yes, sir?
You guys haven't even started recording?
No, we've been recording. We're just talking about our lives.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yes.
You haven't started your review?
No.
I thought you were about to be done. Never mind.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, so we are talking about episode 10, The Energy Eater. It was rated 7.5 out of 10 stars and premiered on December 13th, 1974. The little blurb is not a little blurb, actually. It's a very long blurb.
It's the whole show.
A new hospital is plagued by a series of electrocutions, and Kolchak discovers that the burial spot of a Native American bear god spirit was awakened by the hospital's construction. Will Kolchak be able to drive the poltergeist back into hibernation before it's too late?
Which I don't even think you really got an answer to that, but that's okay.
No, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
All I heard, because at the end he's like, I hope it worked.
No,
and
yeah.
When we get there,
it worked.
There. But I was just very confused. Also, we didn't watch it together, like, at all this week, so.
Because Monica just got back from Florida.
Yeah.
It was directed by Alexander Grasshoff, who previously directed Zombie and Bad Medicine. So basically, whenever there is a culturally sort of touchy subject, let's get him to direct it.
Yeah.
But also, I Googled him. And usually I just look at these people's IMDb credits, but there was a lot of very interesting people this week. So I actually was actually Googling people. And I found my most favorite fact I've ever found about a director. He won an Oscar for the best documentary film for a movie called The Young Americans. But then the Oscars people found out that the first premiere screening had actually been a year earlier than they thought it was, and so it wasn't actually eligible for the Oscars, so they yanked it back.
Oh, damn. That's rough.
Yeah.
Um,
The story and teleplay were by Arthur Rowe. He wrote for a variety of TV shows such as Mission Impossible, The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., Gunsmoke, Adventures of Rin Tin Tin. Like, he was one of those guys. And the teleplay was by Rudolph Borchardt, who already wrote The Ripper and the Alien episode, and I think he writes 2 more.
okay.
Then.
It's that shadow work, broski, in those episodes, man. I know he wasn't part of that, but, like, I miss it. Because the camera work on this episode, yikers. I understand why certain things are the way they were, but yikers, it really shows its age.
I
didn't hate it, but I liked it for
I think there was a lot of things that I thought were really, really well done for the time.
But it shows the age of the show. Really.
Now, this week, there were 6 guest stars.
OT.
And also, they are 6 of the most bizarre human beings. Like, I was in a rabbit hole. So first we have William Smith. He played Jim Elkhorn, the medicine man / shaman / Kolchak's BFF for the episode. Holy cow, this guy. Let me tell you. He has over 300 credits.
Oh, damn.
He acted for 75 years, starting when he was, like, 11. He, like, had a really big muscular build, so he played a lot of outlaws and Native Americans and medicine men, like, back in the western area thing. Mm-hmm. But also, he was basically a super spy. This man was in the military, and he had CIA clearance and NSA clearance. He speaks, like, 6 languages. Like, literally, actually a super spy, who also just was an actor for shits on the side.
Yo, man came up and said, watch me.
He was best known for playing Falconetti in Rich Man, Poor Man, which I have no idea what it is, but that is apparently a big deal. Yeah. I just couldn't get over reading all about his military history. Yeah, like, whew. Then we have Elaine Giftos, who played Nurse Janice. She started as a ballet dancer, moved to Broadway, and then moved to TV. She didn't do a lot of stuff, but she did some. She's beautiful.
Yeah,
she was really most known for being in a movie called Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Too Afraid to Ask.
What a title.
Right. She also was married to this guy named Herbert Wright, which there's 2 reasons why I'm bringing up who she was married to, because her marriage is not important. She's a badass woman on her own. Yeah. But he was a massive sci-fi writer who, like, wrote for, like, Star Trek, The Next Generation, and all of this stuff, who literally calls all of his writing. He's like, yeah, I just wanted to write all the weird shit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so basically we would love him.
Yeah.
Also, she used his last name to become a feng shui consultant and wrote a book called The Right, spelled like their last name, The Right Way to Feng Shui. Like, what? These people are bananas. Then there's Tom Drake, who plays Don Kibbe, who is the architect who helps Kolchak check out the basement, who's like the friend who owes him a favor. Don Kibbe was Judy Garland's leading man in Meet Me in St. Louis.
Aww.
Handsome when he was young. But he's from that era where when you were hired, you weren't hired for a movie, you were hired by a studio to be like a stock in their studio. So he's got tons and tons of credits as part of the MGM Studios like deal. Yeah. That's who he was. But like that's his big thing. Then we have Michael Strong, who played Walter Green, which was like the super angry owner of the hospital. Again, he was never, literally his description on IMDb says, not known for having a big presence. He always had a big presence because like he was never really a leading man. He just was in hundreds of credits, but always as like a soldier or a police officer or a really angry boss. Like he always had a big presence in whatever he was in. Mm-hmm. He was just never like a big guy, and he was in Mission Impossible and Columbo, obviously. Yep. But he was best known for playing a lieutenant in the movie Patton.
Okay.
Then We have Robert Euro, who played the detective, who was actually only in one scene because this episode was weirdly not really about crimes.
Yeah.
It was, but not really.
It was more like about the hospital having to cover its ass.
Yeah. He was typecast as villains, as like tough guy, big guy again. He was best known for his role in The Ride to Hangman's Tree. He was back in a lot of westerns and stuff. And then we have my favorite of the strange people. Like, we have Super Spy, Feng Shui Consultant, and then this lady, Joyce Jilson. She played Diana. Again, was only in one scene, but this lady. Her acting roles are very few. I think there was like 28 or something. Mm-hmm. She played the title role in the movie Super Chick. Like, she played Super Chick, which is, like, she's really, really pretty. But she has very, very few credits. But that's because she worked for the movie studios her whole life as the astrologer who helped them decide what days would be astrologically best to premiere movies on. She's the one who chose the opening day of Star Wars.
What?
Like, they just said, who are the fucking weirdest people in the Hollywood right now?
Let's throw them in here. Yo, if they still did that, I don't know, could they? If they do, I know where I'm working. And like the tides in the moon.
But also she's like fucking crazy, and her last 2 books before she died were called Astrology for Dogs and Astrology for Cats.
Get the fuck out of my face. Maybe my dog's astrology. So today either you're going to win $1,000 and get a promotion at work or die. Oh fuck, it was the second one. Like
yeah, so basically they said, how can we put the most interesting people in one room? I got it. Kolchak.
Yep. Well, I think she's psychotic, but I love her.
Right?
Like,
we got a super spy, a feng shui consultant, an astrologist.
Wow. You know what? I love our crazy little bunch that we got here today.
So, when I say I went down a Google rabbit hole...
You really did. Jesus.
Because how could I not?
Could you imagine having that job? Like, realistically, could you imagine just, like, you could come up, like, if people are putting their faith into you, you can go with them some stupid mumbo-jumbo and just be like, yeah, Saturn is in, Virgo. Yeah, that's a great time. Let's go for it.
Literally, yesterday I was trying to read my horoscope, and I was trying to decide a new horoscope app, because, like, I like the apps that I have, but I want one that also just has, like, a message for the day kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I opened it, and it was like, well, because the moon is in Scorpio. And I was like, the moon's in Sagittarius. And I deleted the app because I was like, you don't even know where the moon is.
Yeah, the moon doesn't, because when I was born, the moon was in Scorpio.
No, but the moon only stays in a sign for 2.5 days. So, like, that changes. But literally, the moon was in Sagittarius yesterday. Yeah. So when it said, because the moon's in Scorpio, I was like, nope, you're wrong.
Correct. See, that's how those... horoscope apps get you. If you're into astrology and into your birth chart and stuff like that, whether you believe it or not, it's still fascinating to read about, because if the moon can control the tides on the earth, we're made of majority water, so it has to have some effect.
Right.
But if you look into all that stuff and you do, like, I highly suggest Time Passages over CoStar. It's really good. It shows you your whole chart and lays it out for you in a very cohesive way, and it's really interesting to look at. And CoStar has gotten some of my stuff wrong, so I trust this app a little bit more.
I use both, but only because I trust Time Passages to be more correct, but I like CoStar's little, like, blurbs, like the messages where it gives you your do's and don'ts for the day.
Yeah. And, like, for me, they said it was a rising Leo. My rising...
But see, I think you could go either way, like, personality-wise.
See, I have a God complex, but that's because of mental illness, not because of my star sign.
But, like, today, it's my do's and don'ts on CoStar. Do, Venus flytraps, fire extinguisher, scapegoats.
See, the do's and don'ts...
Don't, claws out, as a dare, playing tag.
See, the thing that...
They don't make sense, but I love that.
That's the thing, is that they're do's and don'ts. I feel like there's just some random dude who's like, okay, write down 3 random words.
Exactly.
And 3 random phrases
exactly.
For each one. And I'm like, what the fuck does me playing tag have to do with anything right now? Or doing dares. Or, well, doing other shit. I guess I gotta go buy a Venus fucking flytrap today. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
I just think of it as be a Venus No.
So be a man-eater?
Yeah. Anyway, so we start this episode with Kolchak is covering a hospital dedication, and he thinks it is hella boring. This is the worst day of his life that he has to cover this hospital dedication.
Dude, I am sorry. If I was a reporter, I'd be like...
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Something really cool.
Here's the thing. I'm sure a hospital dedication could be interesting. But Kolchak also just doesn't ever want to do his job unless it's really exciting.
Okay. Yeah, true. I think he made the wrong career path. He should have been a cop. Or like something in the police force.
Right, like he's really a private eye, not really a reporter. He's like Castle. He solves crimes and writes books.
Yes. But Kolchak, he's going in investigating this, not investigating, reporting on this opening thing. We see someone, room shake for a little bit and someone die.
Well, okay, so before, this is weird. There's one scene that I found very weird because
it was spliced.
It was spliced, but usually when they cut to something that Kolchak's not a part of, there's a narration explaining why and what happens, and there was no narration. It just spliced into this other scene.
Like in the middle of someone else talking too, so it was just like, and then it would go to like this whole other scene.
It was supposed to be a fade out because we were supposed to not care what the other guy was talking about, but it was cut a little jagged.
His voice was too.
They didn't blend his voice well, but then we see this like electrical explosion and the wall cracking, and in theory in 1974 that wall crack would have been hella scary.
Yeah. Like,
obviously it wasn't really that scary to me right now, but I was actually really impressed with the way they did that.
Yeah. The way that they showed the walls cracking, like, that was all practical. Like, in any scene that they had that, like, this had to have been a big production budget for this episode. Because,
no, but also, I know it's not because of the trivia that I've already read, but also, but, like, the way that they cracked the walls was really good. The guy getting electrocuted and throwing himself in the ground, not as good, but the wall crack, great.
And then, when these incidences happen, which is very inconsistent, sometimes the cameraman wants to just make it pretend like he's having a seizure and shake the camera to show that the walls are shaking. There was
a lot of really shaky camera work and really splotchy like coloring, but I think it was supposed to be like, I think it was intentional. But I don't think it worked. I don't think it read as well today.
Yeah.
But I do think it was all intentional, and I think it made sense
for the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I said that really showed the age of the show.
Yeah.
For sure, because yikes. It just looked like if you had, like, we're holding, like, your phone camera and just doing this with it. Like, that's what the earthquake scenes looked like.
I mean, that's what an earthquake looks like to me.
Fair.
Just kidding. I've never experienced an earthquake. Except for, like, maybe, like, a 0.11.
Yeah.
Like, I've definitely felt the ground shake and be like, oh, shit, I think there was an earthquake. Mm-hmm. But, like, we live in a place where there's not really earthquakes, so whenever I felt an earthquake, it was, like, a 2 on the Richter scale, and it was, like, 30 minutes away, so it was just like it's done. So then the nurse comes up and whispers to the hospital guys what's going on, and so they decide not to take the press to the basement, which of course means Kolchak has to go to the basement. So he follows the nurse, and he's talking to her, and I really like Janice immediately because the whole conversation basically feels like she likes Kolchak. She is charmed by him. She thinks he's funny, and she thinks he's right, but she's not about to lose her job over this man.
Yes. Which is very, and like, she's also carries herself, I think she's probably the one who carries herself, I think, in the highest regard out of any
she is by far the smartest female sidekick so far.
Yeah. And she's super funny. She's so gorgeous, and
which she uses to her advantage later.
Yeah.
Like, but deliberately.
Yeah. She's like, she knows what she has. She reserves it for herself, but she's like, but I want to know some information, so let me slap on some lipstick and get what I need.
No, I'm obsessed with her. And so they go to the basement, and they, and Kolchak sees what's going on and everything, and they talk about the fact that the air conditioners aren't working, but actually they are. It's just still really hot. And Kolchak is hella sweaty, But I had to say I appreciated it because it was the first time that we had an explanation for why he was so sweaty.
Yeah.
So, like, it didn't bother me that he was hella sweaty because that was kind of the point.
But yeah. Also, before you, I want to point out one thing. I like how when Kolchak, because there's going to be many instances where he pretends to be many different professions, he either throws on a hat or a coat, and no one can recognize
I have notes
Kolchak.
about that later. I have notes about that later. So basically, Kolchak sees all this stuff. He talks to the people. Nobody's giving him any answers, which is fair. Like, I wouldn't give a random dude answers to what was going on. Like, if I don't work for the PR team, it's not my fucking job.
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to get fired because I told you something I wasn't supposed to say.
Yeah.
Well, especially because Janice knows he's the press.
Mm-hmm.
The janitor guy doesn't, but the janitor guy also is sketched out by him.
Yeah. Didn't he go like, I don't have a name?
Oh, he said, I don't know, that's just what my foreman told me. Who's your foreman? I don't know. What's his name? I don't know. What's your name? I don't know.
Yeah.
But so Kolchak's original thought is that it's bad construction. Like, for once, I think the thing I liked the most about this episode is that
like a reasonable
Kolchak did not jump to supernatural.
Yeah.
He did not think this is fucked up until he saw stuff that did not make sense.
Yeah.
He was just like, this building has all these cracks in the basement, the heat doesn't make sense, and nobody's talking to me, so clearly the hospital's about to fall down.
Mm-hmm.
Bad construction. He also does not write his article. He gives it to Miss Emily to write. Mm-hmm. And while it was not necessarily useful, the whole scene where Miss Emily is ranting about old people not being treated well in hospitals, and then Tony is, like, fighting with her and Kolchak, I was obsessed. Mm-hmm. Especially because I have a note that says, Carl's attitude about gang killings in Chicago had me dead. Yeah. I was cracking up at the way he talked about gang shootings. Mm-hmm. Like, he was like, nobody's going to talk anyway. He's like, last time I went to talk about a gang shooting, there was 30 people in the restaurant and 25 of them were in the men's room. And so Kolchak calls his friend Don Kibbe to get a favor. And, and Miss Emily says that she likes to see Vincenzo working because she likes older people with spunk.
And Vincenzo really just didn't acknowledge it. He was just like, okay. And just went on his merry way.
It's one of those things where, like, okay, so I had this French teacher in middle school who was legitimately batshit crazy.
I love that.
Like, went on a roof to find pennies because someone told her that they were up there. Got kicked in the face by a horse because someone told her to pull its tail. Like, batch.
Oh my god.
The boys in my class, at separate times throughout the year, convinced her that one of them was part of a twin set, and he and his twin switched off what days they went to school. So one day he would act like himself, and the next day he would act like his twin. But he called his twin Kunta Kinte, like the character from Roots, and just shouted things at her in fake African languages.
Oh my god.
And she did not notice. And then they also, same boy and his friend also convinced her that they were Muslim and that they needed to pray at a certain time every day, and they would just get up on top of their desks and start, like, wailing like they were praying, and she just was like, well, that's what they have to do. What? We climbed out of the window to pick flowers and climbed back in the window and brought them to her, and she had no idea where they came from. Like, she was insane.
How the hell does she still have her job?
They tried to fire her, and she sued them for trying to fire people over mental health conditions. So Miss Emily reminds me of her. What's the point of that story?
Nice.
Only Miss Emily's a little bit more there.
Yeah.
A lot of bit more there.
She has the spunk. Your teacher just had the what the fuck.
So then, he takes, this is the note that I was talking about. I've always heard this, the best way to sneak around places is to fully act like you belong there.
Yeah.
The best way to not get noticed when you're somewhere you don't belong is to act fully like you belong there. Mm-hmm. And Kolchak did that 47 times this episode. Like, everywhere he went, he did not sneak around. He just boldly walked into places as if he belonged there, so nobody fucking questioned him.
Yeah.
It was great.
You love to see it. Kolchak not being a wuss.
Oh yeah, no. He is bold. Bold as shit.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes this architecture guy with him down to the basement to look at it. And the architecture dude is like, these are absolutely not settling cracks. This is hardcore structural damage. And
there are a bunch of different possible real-world scenarios that Kolchak kept saying, like, what if it's not this?
yeah.
Then it could be this. Well, then what if it's not that? Then
So
it could be that.
basically, they come to the conclusion that based on the cracks and the heat, that the geologist who decided where the building should go was wrong, and that it was over a geothermal fault line.
Yeah.
Now, my problem with that.
Is there no geothermal fault line in Chicago?
I don't know, because it doesn't seem like a Chicago thing. Let's look at the Illinois map of. Yeah, no, the historical earthquakes in Chicago or in Illinois. There's been like one in Chicago, very small, probably coming from under the lakes.
So probably not.
Probably not an accurate thing. Also, I was really confused at first because they didn't say they said a geothermal leak, but they didn't say it in a way that I understood what they were talking about, and I was like, if there was a leak in a geothermal heat HVAC system, which is what my brain went to, A, it would not cause structural damage, and B, it would not cause it to heat up that much because you're underground.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is not even accurate. And then later in the episode, Kolchak says something about fault lines, and I go, oh, okay, no, that makes more sense, but also geographically inaccurate. But again, people from California probably don't think about the fact that not everywhere else on the planet is literally falling apart and gonna knock off the country like California is.
Yeah.
Somebody
gonna blow this bitch. I hated that noise it just made. Anyway.
I did too. Then
I saw this and it says popping light bulbs. I thought it said pooping light bulbs. And I was like, that's a neat trick.
No. So while they're there, the
the
shaking and electricity starts to happen again, and then every light bulb individually starts popping, and I thought it looked sick.
Yeah, it was actually really cool, and because they have to use like construction lights down there because
the power's already been fucked.
Like just gone. So, which makes you want to think if they didn't have. Well, I'm an idiot. They're construction lamps, so they probably run on battery, not outlet.
Yeah.
Ignore me.
Yeah, work lights wouldn't run in the same power grid as the whole building.
Yeah.
They might still be plugged into something, but they're probably plugged into like an external power source.
Yeah.
Because like obviously during construction when you don't have electricity yet,
we need them.
So then Kolchak goes back to Janice and is like, "Yo, I was just in the basement and that shit is fucked." And she knows something's not normal because every person that is dying, the one thing that they all have in common is that they were touching something electrical when they died. But what they died of is not electrocution.
Yeah. And so she's like thinking that these people are being murdered. But in a very weird way.
Yeah, like she doesn't. I don't think she knows what to think. She just knows something is not okay.
Right, yeah.
And then my next note says Kolchak is the best bullshitter alive.
Yes.
Because it is the scene where Kolchak is pretending to be a pathologist.
Yeah, he pulled that off really well.
Except for when he didn't know how to look at a microscope.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, it's very interesting. Oh, I've never seen anything like this before.
No, but then he does it first, and he's like, oh yeah, and then the other guy moves the plate under the microscope, and he's like, oh, yeah.
Just kidding. I was like my joke.
I'm so funny. And then, of course, the detective shows up and is like, oh, Dr. Kolchak, huh? Fucking piece of shit. kicks him out, and it's interesting because the detective acts the same way that most of the detectives on the show do, and like how they just don't want Kolchak interfering.
Mm-hmm.
Only there's no reason for the detective to be there.
Yeah.
Except for that it proves Kolchak right, that
Yeah.
something is fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. So then we get to the real plot of the episode. Because so far that has not really been the plot of the episode. That's all been exposition.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we find out at the beginning that that the Native American steel crew that had built the hospital, quit.
Yeah.
So
And 2 men had died.
Yeah. So Kolchak wants to go talk to them and figure out why they have quit. And, but because they are a Native American crew, only their shaman will talk for them, which basically, I don't like the wording of that because yes, like they're a Native American crew and Jim Elkhorn is the shaman for their tribe. But also, like, just say they're a labor union and only the union representative can talk to the press for them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, only the boss can talk to the press. Like, the dudes on the fucking steel line can't do shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, my whole family works in construction.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact the laborers are not talking to the press. Like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So, like, the making it because they're native
Yep.
just was fucking stupid.
Yeah. So he goes and talks to the head representative
Who's
of...
a fucking tool.
Oh, big tool. He's like... Before I meet him, he's basically talking to a one-night stand he had. He's like, oh, you're doing the old salesman trick, leaving your hat and coat behind so you can get back in here. And I was like...
Yeah,
oh,
but then
okay.
he hangs up the phone. He answers the phone again. It's a different lady.
He's just out here getting...
And Kolchak goes, oh, I know how to work him.
Then he was like, what, do I need to leave my hat and coat in here for me to come back too? And then, ended up.
But, Jim says the Macho Manito killed his men and then slams the door in Kolchak's face. Now, later, they talk more about what the legend of the Macho Manito is. But, of course, I needed to look it up. I could not find that word anywhere on the internet except for in Kolchak. But I found one article that talked about it. And I found other things that referenced similar words but not quite.
Yeah.
Basically, Macho Manito in the Potawatomi tribe calls Macho Manito like the evil spirit. Like there's a good spirit and an evil spirit. But basically, they did not have a defined evil spirit until after Catholic missionaries and French priests came and like talked to them, and the more Western ideas of good versus evil instead of like multiple spirits came to be. So like the tribal gods were like morphed into the Christian lore, and Macho Manito like exists as this weird combination of multiple things. There's also absolutely nothing on the internet that has anything to do with a bear.
Cool.
But I understand where the bear god thought comes from
because of the hibernation.
Because of the hibernation.
Like that, and I think that them saying, because the only time they referred to him as a bear was that one scene where they were comparing the acts of this energy to a bear.
No, well, because earlier, before they have that conversation, Kolchak calls him a bear god when Jim is telling him and Janice and Diana all about the story.
Okay.
And Kolchak does call him a bear god, and that was probably just poor writing, to be honest. But,
Because even watching, I didn't get the impression that it was a bear.
no. It is basically like just an evil spirit that is trying to take energy from the world.
Yeah.
And the bear part comes from the hibernation and the fact that historical records only talk about the spirit in the summer. But also, I don't really understand that part. So, because like I said, literally this word did not exist on the internet except in reference to this episode and one article about the Potawatomi tribe.
Yeah.
which also, I have no idea if Jim Elkhorn is supposed to be Potawatomi. Because, I mean, I'm skipping around a little bit. Because he talks about how this spirit, like the spirit has been there since before the Illinois tribe came, before the French people came, before my people came. Mm-hmm. Now, the Illinois tribe obviously is where the state of Illinois gets its name from. That the timeline of those things is accurate. But the Algonquin tribes that came and met and took the French side during the French and British battles that came down from Ottawa and are in the Great Lakes region, Potawatomi is one of 5 of those tribes. Mm-hmm. He does not say anything that makes it accurate of which tribe he is from, but Potawatomi is the only of the 5 that has this legend.
Okay.
So it's like, I have no idea. Like, there's a lot of things that are accurate and a lot of things that are just lazy.
And left mostly unsaid, too.
Right.
And I feel like that this is what they were trying to do with Bad Medicine, but Bad Medicine had so much of a cultural legend that they were trying to push and being so accurate by talking about certain tribes. I think that's why they try to keep the whole...
What it was
right.
Well, because also, like, so skipping around, I have comments about the scene before this one, but, like, no, we won't skip. Okay, so he talks to Jim. Then we go back to the hospital, and they show another girl dying. Mm. My note is that this girl would have fucking died even if it wasn't an electrical ghost monster, because the nurse left her panic button so far away from her, and she is paralyzed. Yeah. How the fuck was she supposed to grab it?
And only her, like, head and her right arm moved.
Right. And the thing was not in her reach. Mm-hmm. I was so mad about that. I was like, well, this girl would have died even if it wasn't a ghost. Mm-hmm. So then Kolchak is sneaking around the hospital again to go talk to Janice, and he hides behind a pile of bedpans, and I literally just wrote, I fucking hope those are clean bedpans.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, dropping them and shaking them, and I was like, oh my god. I was so stressed out by that.
And his face was right there.
So then Kolchak brings Janice with him to go to Jim's house because...
She's pretty.
And, basically coaches Janice on all the questions to ask to get Jim to answer all of Kolchak's questions, but because he'll only talk to a pretty lady. And, of course, his neighbor Diana is there, and she is not happy.
Yeah.
Basically, he says one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. He said, well, a shaman is a hereditary title, but I don't really practice anymore now that we got Blue Cross.
I'm back, bitches.
Oh, hello.
Are you podcasting?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
I was hoping.
You scared the hell out of me.
I knew she was coming up the stairs. I didn't realize she was going to yell at us.
I wanted to yell.
Okay.
Welcome to Renee, everyone.
So shaman, hereditary title, but I don't use it anymore now that the union got Blue Cross, which is hysterical. But also in the Potawatomi tribe, shaman is not a hereditary title. You have to go on an actual medical, like, spirit journey to become a shaman. So that was... again, where I got real fucking confused.
Yeah, so maybe he's not from that tribe.
Right, because also, where, I have a note. Oh, it's later, but it kind of goes into this scene too. Just kidding. No. So, and then I was, like, trying to figure out if anything that Jim was saying made any sense, but it did. When I paused and did more research on tribes in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And then Diana has my favorite line of the episode because, okay, so his neighbor who was there to try to go on a date with him came over because she had an English muffin stuck in her toaster.
What an innuendo.
Right. When she leaves, she literally just goes, well, stuff the muffin, looking at Janice. And I spit my drink out. I was like...
She said... Fuck you, Janice.
She said, stuff the muffin, I'll eat oatmeal instead. And I was like...
Damn.
And then all I could think of Kevin G was, has anyone buttered your muffin? Would you like me to assign someone to butter your muffin for you?
I hate this. Continuing on.
Oh, and so then they're talking about, so they're doing all this research about why, my notes from here on out, I don't really know what happened.
This is when they did like the whole research, and that's when they found out that the spirit hibernates and that it.
Yeah, but it's not at first because I have something about them talking and then them in the hospital and then more things about the research. So I don't actually know what happens here. But basically, we find out that the reason that this spirit is coming out.
I remember. They go back to wait, or no? They go back to the
This
hospital.
This is the hospital.
So this is when they go and all the doctors experience.
Yeah, no.
Experience it.
No, that's not that.
That isn't okay.
No.
So I thought maybe that was that thing.
No.
See.
So, exactly. I don't know what my notes. I don't actually know. And I watched this yesterday and then didn't sleep last night. So like I have no idea. But basically, the hospital was built on reclaimed land. Which, if you don't know what reclaimed land is, it's basically when you have coastal land that you then change where the lake or the sea exists. Like you physically alter the shoreline in order to have more land for building. It happens a lot in like island countries, but not like beach island countries, like places like Hong Kong, like mountainous island countries can have land that they literally just like change where the ocean stops by building up. So it is reclaimed land, and so it used to be underwater, which kept it cold, and then they moved the water, and now the land is not cold anymore, hence the hibernation ending.
Yeah.
Which we find that out in a different scene than we find out about the research.
Yeah.
So I don't remember how that
exactly
happened.
where,
I don't
but-
remember how that conversation happens. I think they're still at Jim's house with Janice,
Yeah.
but I don't know how they led into that.
Yeah.
That was an important fact. So then they go back to the hospital, and basically Kolchak takes Jim to the basement to have him do a tribal, like, shaman, medicine man dance and chant to get rid of this thing.
This is a lot better than the EIEIO thing.
Facts. I was going to say the chant was actually pretty accurate, and my note says, but this is called exploitation.
Yes.
But also, I really appreciated how they showed Jim's character in this, because, like, and it didn't bother me. He did not bother me in this, even though the actor is not native, because what happened was he started to do the chants, which, again, were more accurate, and then he just stopped, and he said, you know what, it didn't work for my grandfather, it's not going to work for me. And it was a very, very real kind of experience that a lot of Native Americans in large cities went through, especially in that time period of the dichotomy between fitting into modern society and trying to keep true to tribal roots. And like, especially in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of like really, really difficult
Decisions to be made in that.
ways of trying to figure out how to adapt, especially in places, like I said, like big cities that didn't have like reservation land.
Yeah.
Like when there were places where tribes were still on reservations and they had more, obviously, like, we're not getting into the politics of the reservation system because that is a totally different topic. But when there was places that were designated for these people that were all people of the tribe living together, living in their history, they were more able to stay connected with it. But then, like, the people who were living in larger cities where they didn't have the same connection to the land or to their history, it was
in this, like,
more like saying I'm Potawatomi is less about an identity and more about an ethnicity.
Yeah.
And so I thought that he did that very
Justice.
genuinely.
Yeah.
So then they go back to the house to do more research, and
That's where we find out about the hibernation.
we find out about the hibernation and the French priests writing about it and how they only wrote in summer, and that's when I realized that the bear part probably wasn't as ignorant as I thought it was.
Yeah.
I still don't know where it came from, but at least I
I
see
get
where
it.
the episode was going with it.
Yeah.
Then they go to the hospital to talk to the owners and the guys who made the hospital and everything. And the doctor actually fully believes them.
Yeah, the one doctor does, the owner.
Okay, so there's 3 guys. There's the owner, the doctor, and the architect. The architect basically says absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
The doctor fully believes them. The owner's like, get the fuck out of my hospital.
And then, while this whole discussion's going on, they're presenting their evidence, they get paged down to the basement, and, well, this is the first time that we can say any authoritative figure besides Kolchak has seen the shit that's gone on.
Well, no. Remember in the Alien episode, the police officer definitely saw it and then pretended he didn't?
But that's like, well, they also did kind of pretend for the press release.
They pretended for the press, but they fully...
Their execution of taking care of the issue was not based off
They fully were like, shit, this guy is not crazy. This is real. We need to do something, but we also can't, like, look to the press like we built our hospital on ancient native burial grounds because fuck. So they pretended not to.
Yeah. They had then they ended up having to evacuate the hospital and to basically make the whole hospital a refrigerator.
Yeah, the rest of my notes aren't really important.
And when they do this, that's why they went there in the first place, as Kolchak was, presenting them, you should probably do this, and then they ended up doing that, but they only said because there was some foundation issues going on, so no one obviously knew the real reason why.
Lied. Now, so then...
The ending is kind of anticlimactic.
The ending is a little anticlimactic. Kolchak, there was some funny dialogue with Kolchak and Tony where Kolchak bought 2 new cameras just to try to get pictures of the Machamanito. And Kolchak and Tony was like, how much?
$40.
And then I laughed because $40 is like a meal at Chipotle.
Yep.
But then, so basically Kolchak goes down there, the monster is getting more aggressive, flames are coming out of the ground. My phone is supposed to be on Do Not Disturb. Sorry about that. It was on Do Not Disturb, but I guess I set it long enough that it timed out.
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, so sparks are coming out of the ground. Kolchak is blowing a fire extinguisher at it, which is kind of helping, but then the liquid nitrogen comes in the room to cool it down enough. And then Kolchak passes out because of the liquid nitrogen.
But when he wakes up in the hospital at the very end, they said that he only had frost spray on his hand and feet, and his hands looked just like this. That, first of all, he would have been dead. We don't know how long he was down there.
Okay, first of all, yeah, we have no idea how long he was down there. Second of all, I don't actually have any idea how he passed out, because
unless it's gonna do his lungs. I don't.
That's the thing
breathing that in, he was like face down in that. He would have been breathing his lungs would have literally crystallized.
Right, but like before he passed out, he should have been fine. The ventilation systems were still open.
Yeah.
Like it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
0 of the sense. But then when I said they did address it, when Ian Kolchak's little post-show monologue where he was talking about what happened, the guy who didn't believe him, the asshole owner, his development company was putting water back over that area. He was building the channel. So he fully believed them and was like, fuck, we gotta recover this area with water so that this does not happen again.
So, like, finally we had someone who was actually listening to Kolchak and said, I'm gonna actually fix this issue.
I mean, I'm gonna do it in a way where Kolchak gets 0 credit and I still look like a good guy and nobody knows that there was some fucking weird, evil, like, demon spirits in my hospital, but also I fixed it.
Yeah.
But, like, a lot of people had to die for him to fix it.
Yeah.
But, sorry, thinking of a lot of people dying, it reminded me of Janice's quote where she said, it's a hospital, of course people are dying.
Oh, yeah. Also, Janice did end up getting the RIP treatment. She died.
Did she?
Yeah, remember when the x-ray scene happened and the x-ray room blew up and then they went into the other side of the wall? Janice was the one that nurse that was laying there.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Janice got
R.I.P. Janice.
the...
Yeah, Kolchak was when he was trying to explain what happened to the people and, like, what the monster was doing, he was explaining, like, electrocution.
This is my favorite.
And he said the monster doesn't really, like, what it does is it, like, sucks energy in and then pushes it back out, like, bigger. So that's where you get the electrical surges from. And he was like, yeah, so basically he's overcharging the patients, which as a hospital you should know all about that.
Yeah. I pissed myself. I was like, damn, Kolchak. Out here speaking the truth. Now, on to trivia, because clock is a tick-a-tocking.
Yeah. I opened my text messages instead of my pictures.
I know we spent a lot of time talking about our life.
We really didn't. Truthfully, we only spent like 20 minutes about our life.
That is true. This is like a normal length episode for us.
Yeah,
Right.
we're not. The problem is that we both have places to be at noon, and it is currently 11 o'clock, and so, like, Monica's starting to be anxious because she's insane.
I am.
So, our goofs. Factual errors. The high steel workers are usually from tribes in the U.S. Northeast and southern Canada. Those tribes didn't have shaman. That's not true. Most tribes in this area did not have shaman or did not use that term, but the Potawatomi did.
Mm-hmm.
So that is an incorrect factual error. But also, again, we don't actually know if they were supposed to be part of the Potawatomi tribe.
True.
So,
I think that's kind of vague for the sense of that.
right. I mean, yes.
Could it be Potawatomi?
Most tribes in the U.S. Northeast and southern Canada do not have shaman, or at least do not use the term shaman for their medicine men or healers.
Yeah.
According to the Minneapolis Museum of History's Potawatomi tribe, which is where I got most Potawatomi history articles, which is where I got most of my information because they have very, very in-depth stuff on their website about it. They do use the word shaman, but again, I don't have confirmation that that is the tribe, except for the connection to the Machamanito.
Okay.
So, revealing mistakes. When the repairmen, this is what I said, this is how you can tell it's cheap. When the repairmen are applying plaster to the walls, they move because they're only made of canvas or hard paper.
Oh, okay.
So even though the cracks look really good, it's because it's done with like a crackling paint or like a paper that tears in a way.
Oh,
It's
okay.
all hard paper and canvas, not actually walls.
Oh,
Which is why it's able to look so good and still be so cheap.
Nice. That came out really well. I like
Yeah.
that.
So like, we love a good practical effect, but also if you're going to show someone plastering a wall, at least put a beam behind it so that it doesn't move.
Yeah.
The boom mic is visible when Kolchak brings the architect to the hospital to inspect its lower levels. I didn't notice that because there's so many other construction things happening there that I didn't see that that's what it was, but I fully believe that.
I 100%.
Character error. The paralyzed woman has her makeup done, is wearing fake eyelashes, and has her nails manicured. If she's in the hospital and is paralyzed, there is very little reason for this to be done.
True. I didn't even think about that.
Like, she can literally only use one hand. She's not using that one hand to
And
put
her
fake
one
eyelashes
hand
on.
literally only does like this.
Well, she can move it like this much. Like, her shoulder moves a little bit. But
Yeah.
if she can only stretch her arm,
she ain't bending
she's not
up to do
putting
that.
she's not wasting energy to put fake eyelashes on. There's only one piece of trivia, and I did already kind of mention it. Kolchak and Jim Elkhorn are doing research on the Machamanito, the energy eater entity, and are reading diaries and logs of pioneers who encountered or mentioned the entity. Elkhorn fluently reads and translates from a French passage written by a French priest who refers to it. William Smith, who played Jim Elkhorn, is fluent in Russian, French, German, and Serbo-Croatian, as well as English. He learned foreign languages while serving as an intelligence specialist for the U.S. Air Force during the Korean War. Again, super spy. Because I'm an international super spy. Super spy!
I knew that was gonna happen. I knew it. I felt it in my bones. That Mary Kate was gonna go all Pablo on me from freaking Backyardigans and think that that was okay. Anyway, that was this week's episode of Death and Aliens. And anticlimactic ending. Pretty decent watch. I wasn't that angry with it.
I really liked it. It just was hard to pay attention to it because I was watching it yesterday while, the entire city was flooding.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was raining so hard last night that, like, half of the city literally flooded.
Yeah.
And I was trying to watch this episode while my windows were getting beat to shit with rain. So it wasn't that it was a bad episode. I was just distracted, which is clearly why I didn't even know Janice died.
But if you want to let us know anything or talk to us or tell us your suck, you can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at deathandaliens.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EMKAY_superstar.
I wouldn't.
And then you can follow me on Instagram at monica.lynn_ and Twitter at mon_lynn_. Renee is giving me judgmental looks, don't mind me.
I can't wait for them to move to Florida. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.